All right, it is 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Do you need a motion to adopt the agenda with the addendum, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded to adopt the agenda with the addendum. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. 3.0, approval of the minutes from May 15th, regular board meeting.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 4.0, consideration of bills and warrants.
Move to approve.
Second?
First and seconded to approve those bills and warrants. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 5.0, hearing of requests and suggestions of citizens and organizations. Is there anyone on the, in the crowd that's not already on the agenda that would like to address the board? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move to 6.0, report of the superintendent of schools.
Okay, here we go. Let's look and see. Summer school is going full swing. So for our elementary and middle school, that is just the month of June. And for all of the buildings, including the high school, it's only Monday through Thursday. So if you drive by Fridays and you're like, where are the kids? Well, they're not in school. Not Fridays, Monday through Thursday. So they've got just a couple more weeks this week and next week at the elementary. Every Thursday at the elementary level, they get to take field trips, which has been fun. They've gone to Independence, to the zoo. And at the very end of the year, the end of the summer school year, they are going to all go swimming and go to the rec center. So this year we have breakfast and lunch both provided through the hospital at our elementary sites. And high school during the day from 11:30 to 12, that site is open. So anyone can come to that. It's that little picnic area right outside, which has been nice and cool until today. Today it was probably pretty hot to have a picnic outside, but that's open to the public. The other sites are closed. We're averaging about 13 students high school credit recovery, and that's in addition to the 5 that are already completed. So as soon as they get in and get the work done, they get to get out. They don't have to stay the entire time. So that's a motivator for some of them. We're averaging about 20 at the middle school, which remember that's still held here over in the D wing. Guthridge is averaging 30, Garfield 36, and Lincoln 38. So those are nice size numbers, and they're getting fed and doing a lot of very specific and explicit instruction and learning based on data. So looks good. Next, ESSER. All right, so windows were a part of the ESSER project. We are still in the process of having those installed. There have been a few glitches as things come around. Things maybe don't fit quite right, and it's really important to measure twice and cut once, even when you make windows and you're the window company. But they're getting it all figured out. And so if you drive by the tech office on 29th Street, you'll notice those windows are new. The district office windows are new. There's some new ones at the high school. All 3 of our elementary schools have all new windows. And so those do look really nice and will last for a long time. Drive by the middle school, you're not going to see the crane, the big crane. The little crane, yes. Big crane, no. They have all of the units set. So now they are just in the process of conditioning those units and getting them ready. They're also still roofing. So now roofing wasn't a part of the ESSER funds, but it is necessary once they pulled up all those big units, and it was time for that roof to be redone. So they're in the process of getting that done. Now, high school, you might remember you approved some HVAC units for the high school. We are still waiting on a letter from the Historical Society. They've kind of tweaked how you turn things in requests, so we are still waiting, and I'm checking every day, because as soon as that gets approved, then we'll send that on to KSDE. So, let's see. Something else we haven't really talked about with ESSER money is there's that learning loss, that percentage of money that's set aside for learning loss, and that's what's paying for our summer school. And so for those staff and for that transportation. Also, we have kids that are going to Greenbush camps this summer, and so that ESSER money is paying for their transportation as well. If they're a 503 student, they can meet out at Walmart on the day of their camp, and we'll give them a ride. Julie helped get all that kind of organized this year, which was nice. Also, Curious Minds this summer, just like we've done the last 2 summers, we are using ESSER money. So if you're a 503 student and a 503 family, you can go to Curious Minds for free all summer long. Becky Falke has a list, and you put your child's name and your address and that, and then we'll pay that bill with ESSER funds in August. But it gives our kids an opportunity to go to the museum all summer long, students and families for free. The other big ESSER expense for learning loss was that letters training, which is the brain science for reading. And so our teachers, it worked out to be about 120 clock hours of work that they did in addition to their regular job. This year, learning the material, preparing the material, taking the tests and quizzes, and ESSER money paid them each a stipend for doing that work, and it will again next year when we do the letters to that volume. So we're excited, so that's good. The next thing is 25-year certificates. So KU every year, if we have people that have been in the district for 25 years, sends a certificate from the University of Kansas School of Education and Human Sciences, and it's in appreciation for 25 years of service to Kansas kids. So people may have worked outside of Kansas, but this is 25 years of service to Kansas students. And so Mary Fries gets one of those certificates, and neither of these ladies could be here this evening. Mary Fries gets one of those certificates, and so does Diana Quirin. So I'm going to have you take Diana's home to her. Mary has been, she worked for 5 years before she came to Parsons. She came to Parsons in '94 as a teacher. She's worked at the high school and then at the middle school. Now she's going back to the high school and going to be the hostess sponsor. And then Diana Quirin started at the middle school in 2006 as the middle school math teacher, and then later became the counselor and is still the counselor there. So we thank both of those ladies for their generous service. 2000?
Yeah.
Does it say 2000?
You're a few years off, 2000.
2000. Oh, gosh. Well, I better check her. Maybe in 2006, is that when she became the counselor?
Could be, yeah.
Maybe that was it. I'll have to check and see, because I looked at her little file. So, but it has been 25 years. So, for both of those ladies. And the 4th of July, the office is closed. So, imagine that. We've got that going on. Any questions? I know that was a lot.
ESSER funds have to be completed by the end of September of 24, is that right?
ESSER 2 has to be obligated and done by September of '23. And then, yes, ESSER 3 monies by September of 2024.
Spent, is that right?
Spent or obligated. But it cannot be, so if it's a project and we're right in the middle of it, and it's obligated, then we're okay. But if it's a salary, we can't say, oh, it's a salary, we're going to pay you all year. Not that kind of obligation. So, yeah. So it's hard to believe, but those days are coming to an end. And there was a time where we thought we would never, it would never end. Maybe. Maybe that was just me. I don't know. My Google Calendar still says March the 19th of 2020 every time I open it. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to 7.0, transportation update. Mr. Giefer gave us one in writing there that gives us a nice summary of the busing activity and the number of trips and the number of buses. It's very daunting when you think about it, how many trips there are and buses used. So,
Just the last 3 months of school, there were 93 activity trips, and it took 121 buses to get them all to all those different trips. So next year, we'll still have the 6 routes. We're going to shorten a van route. That's all the numbers. So he's done a good job.
moving to 8.0, report on the June Tri-County Board meeting. Ms. Thompson, I guess.
I got to go.
All right, excellent.
It was a longer meeting than usual. Mike gave me a real important meeting. The main thing, there was a lot of important things done, but the two most important, we approved the recruitment and retention plan for 23-24. And to become a special ed teacher, you have to have your master's. And so, it just makes it harder to, not that many people are going into special ed for many reasons. But anyway, they have, starting with high school students becoming friends with kids that are in the program, long-term high school students that they see that are working really well with kids like this. Tri-County paraprofessionals, they're really encouraging them to go to school if they want to. long-term subs, teachers in apprenticeships. They want to try to really up the salary to get them in because just not getting teachers. And they had 15 resignations for the year, and this does not include any mid-year teacher losses. And within the next 5 years, Tri-County will have 20 certified staff eligible to retire. So that's a lot within the next 5 years. And so they're very, very concerned about that. So we did okay the recruitment and retention plan, and the budget, it adds $65,000 to be added to the 23-24 school year to promote recruitment and retention of teachers. And then the next thing that we approved was a 2% increase to district contributions for the 23-24 school year based on the formula in the interlocal agreement, and continue the TEC slot cost to be $8,800 per student.
So that works out to be about a $41,000 increase on just the basic contributions, but that does not include the $132,000 for the day school fees. So it works out, it'll be just a little over $1 million that we will pay for the course of the year.
For special education
special
services.
education services. In fact, it should be $1,279.40 for next
And as
year.
Emily said, the state chose not to
State chose
add
not to
any more
fund.
money at all to special ed, it was supposed to be a top priority, and nothing.
Right. And last year, it felt like we got more special ed money because, okay, so the law says 94% is what they're supposed to pay. Last year, they paid about 76%, and you felt like, oh, that's a little bit more. They used ESSER money to do that. And now the ESSER money's gone, so this year, it's going to go back to, they're going to fund about 69%. So definitely tighten the belt for that.
Item 8, tell a teacher, what's a ProCare Therapy Vocal Vision TELUS special education teacher? Do you know?
I do know that they use some remote services if they can't find
I understand.
speech
but
and
what
language.
does that person do?
I would have to ask Ms. McCambridge. I do not know.
Okay.
What's
That
the
would
page
be
number?
Item,
What's the number?
item 8,
No, in the material.
Roman numeral 8 for Tri-County.
Tri-County agenda.
37.
Oh, the Tri-County, I don't have the Tri-County agenda.
As I recall,
Yeah. We even
Procure
talked-
Therapy and the Vocal Vision, they will actually do, as I recall, they will do evaluations of students via television or by video, just like we do speech therapy, some of them on video. This will just be some evaluation, I believe, of providing therapy, because we don't have enough physical therapists. So we provide physical therapy sessions with a para and someone online. I believe that's the way that is, as I recall.
I would assume that's how
Yeah.
it works for other services, but I can ask. I wasn't
Okay.
aware that was.
Just curious.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on, 9.0, action to accept donations to schools.
Okay, that's on page 39 in your packet. All right, for the month of May 2023, Lincoln Nazarene Church made a donation for snacks for kindergarten classes at $100. There was an anonymous donation for new soccer balls for recess, $25. And HD Photography LLC made a spring picture donation of $226.69 for a total of $351.69 at Lincoln in May. Garfield in May, Baller Sports Bar and Grill made a restricted donation of socks for third graders going to SOAR, valued at $150. Box Tops for Education was an unrestricted donation, $15.40. And HD Photography made an unrestricted donation for $179.85 for a total of $345.25 at Garfield in May. Guthridge PTO made a donation for Title Scholastic Books, $200. Box Tops, unrestricted, $10.80. Interstate Studios, unrestricted, $158.94, for a total of $369.74 of donations in May at Guthridge. The middle school had a donation from Heartland Financial, a restricted donation for the 8th grade field trip, $4,073.86, and that was their total of donations for May. At the high school, Ohio Pile Prince made a positive reinforcement program donation, $4.36. World War I Museum Grant, positive reinforcement program, $250. Merlin and Charlene Taylor Family Fund through the PACF made a donation to the PHS football program, $5,000. Jeff and Bria Scheibe made a donation to the PHS football program, $700. Caleb Reed made a donation to TSA, $20. Bleacher Gear to FCCLA for $20. SEK Auto Sales, FCCLA, $25. New Life Clothing and More, FCCLA donation, $200. Mike Carpino Ford of Parsons made an FCCLA donation of $250. Roger Duroni made a donation to FCCLA for $100. John and Andrea Hetlinger made a donation to FCCLA for $200. Jeff and Diana Quirin made a donation to FCCLA for $300. H&H Design and Manufacturing LLC made a donation to FCCLA for $50. Commercial Bank made an FCCLA donation of $100. Parsons Taco Mayo made an FCCLA donation for $200. There was an anonymous donation to the Writers Club, $26.11. The Parsons Recreation Center made a donation to the Entrepreneurship Program, valued at $100. There was an anonymous donation to the softball program, $241.34, and an anonymous donation to the National Honor Society for $100. That totaled $7,886.81 of donations at the high school, for a total of district-wide donations for May of 2023, $13,027.35. We appreciate those generous folks, and I recommend that you approve those donations. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those donations as read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.1, action to approve the renewal proposals for the property and liability, cyber liability, and workers' comp for 23-24. And Bob Wood is here from Wood Insurance Center to discuss this with us. So, Mr. Wood, if you'd take the hot seat.
Yeah. Everybody's having a good summer.
Oh, yeah.
Summer brings insurance renewal time. So, glad to be here to talk about it. Last year, I believe, and talking kind of about the same thing. We're looking at another property insurance increase, which is we're all seeing it right now in all facets of insurance. I think even your homeowners insurance policies and auto insurance policies are taking large increases. We're seeing pretty much in every commercial entity that we insure. This is probably the most volatile time I've ever seen in 40 years in the insurance business in rate fluctuation. We've had, I think the perfect storm over the past 2 or 3 years, and storm is a great word for it, but when we talk about low investment returns, major natural disasters that they're happening, if we're watching the news, they're going on everywhere from wildfires to tornadoes to hurricanes, and then inflation, which is driving the cost of claims through the roof for insurance carriers. The things that happened through COVID with labor shortages and the time it took to get materials, that sort of thing has all just compounded to the point where the insurance companies are taking increases to try to stay profitable. And we talked about this a year ago. Employers Mutual is currently the only insurance carrier in Kansas offering coverage for K-12 school districts. It's important that they feel that it's a profitable venture for them in order for them to stay on board for the schools. I don't know where school districts in Kansas would be without them right now. You may know that there is a pool that is an option for districts to go to, but it is a pool, it's not an insurance carrier. You're joining forces with other districts in a pool to share the risk, and, that can come back and result in assessments and larger costs down the road, if we have to go that way. But I hate to bring large increases to the district. I'm a taxpayer in USD 503. I don't want to see these expenses go up either. So, but it's necessary to keep the program viable. We are paying dividends on this program, and we brought a check for nearly $15,000 during the past policy period as a dividend. We expect the dividend check this year to be it will be in excess of 20 for USD 503. You're a pro rata part of the group as a whole, and whatever dividend they declare, you get that percentage. But as long as EMC is paying those dividend checks back to the districts, we assume it's profitable, and they're going to stay involved. Okay, so we need to keep them at a point where that's happening. And it's hard to say at this time of the year what that dividend is going to be because it hasn't been calculated yet. We do know that it's a 3-year average. The year that we're getting rid of in this dividend paying period is a bad year, a high loss year, and the year that's coming on has been pretty good. So that's why we're expecting the dividend to be better. We do have, it's just isn't about property. I mean, it's the overriding part of this insurance renewal. EMC has taken a stance to increase, a mandatory increase on your property valuations by 10%. So does everybody have a copy of this? If we go to, I list each property out on its own, but I think the more telling page here is starting on page 8. I'm sorry, yeah, page 8. But I have a column that says expiring limits, and that's the values we had on the property in the current policy period. The renewal limit is the column under building. And you see kind of across the board, $772,000 on the district office going to $841,000. It's a 7,000 square foot building. Well, recently we made a change at LCC, and we took every building on the LCC policy to $200 a square foot replacement cost. And at that point, we'd be at $1.4 million for the district office. So they're still under where really they ought to be. The middle school, this is one where I had some success. They give me their renewal first. I look at it. I try to find errors or things where we could possibly save some money. I argued down on the middle school. They wanted to go to $23.5 million. I got them to back off of that increase to save some money. But that's about the extent of what I can do as the agent, because I don't have any leverage. I don't have another company that I could say, okay, let's go to these guys and see what they'll do. I just we say, okay, what can we do that makes sense, and look at each building by building. I did have success there. The high school was a major increase, went from $28,600,000 to $31,255,000. I think if it were gone and we had to go for a bond issue to build a new one, I don't think the $31 million was probably going to cover it. So what they're doing with values is right. The effect it has on the premium is hard to deal with, but I mean the changes they're making make sense. Across the board, we can look at each one. I mean, the grade schools, they've moved all about around $6 million. At $200 a foot on the grade schools, they'd be anywhere from $7 to $8 million. With that in mind, so This is a blanket insurance policy, so you've got a $76 million, $771,000 blanket amount on all the district's buildings. So that 77 million floats to each location. So if they're undershooting one location, it takes more to rebuild one. You get the full effect of the blanket at each location. So the fact that they're still low, in my opinion, shouldn't penalize you if you have a loss, unless every building, that would be quite a storm if it got every building in town. But that's a part of the increase in the property. And the other lines, the liability, the auto, your board D&O, the linebacker, coverage for your equipment, computers, that all stayed pretty much the same. The property took the big jump. And if you go to page, the last page, page 21, we can see kind of where it happened. The property expiring premium was $92,826, and they're going to $130,462. And you're thinking that's more than 10%, and it is. In the past, USD 503 has had very favorable loss experience on the property side. We just haven't had any large claims here in a long time. You've done a good job, and previous boards have done a good job of keeping the facilities in good shape. Roofs have been in good shape, that type of thing. I've been able to make that point, argue that point, and keep the rates low for 503 compared to other districts in the state. EMC has now taken the stance that, just because they haven't had claims in the past doesn't mean the next tornado or hailstorm isn't going to hit them. If you're in Kansas, you're susceptible to tornadoes and hailstorms. And so what they're trying to do is get all the districts to participate in the program at a similar rate per hundred. I've had you as low as 10 to 12 cents, which was the lowest in the state. The average is more 22 to 25 cent rate. And so I think this is like a 20-cent rate on this renewal. So they're pushing your rate up to get more in line with the other districts. And their point being, if we're all going to participate in this group, this safety dividend group together, we ought to all be participating equally. It just makes the jump to 503 greater than what I've seen on other districts. We insure 6 school districts here in southeast Kansas, and they're all 20 to 30% increases on property. Yours is a little bit more than that. Other things that have moved up a little bit, your workers' compensation took a little bit of a jump. We had some claims over the past year. The loss ratio exceeded 100%. So there were some discretionary credits that we had on the account that they backed off on a little bit. So you're seeing a $2,000 increase on work comp. And then cyber's up. Cyber's up everywhere. It's a whole different part of the conversation. Public entities especially are seeing increases in their cyber insurance cost. These things are happening around us. I've learned a lot about cyber insurance over the past year because I've dealt with some pretty large claims. They happen at the worst time, and they know what they're doing. The guys that are doing this stuff. It's what we're seeing across the board. You have a $3 million cyber liability limit. Covers, and if we go back to page 19, all the things in insuring clause 1 are your response costs, your forensic costs, trying to figure out what happened, crisis communication, where you notify people whose information may have been exposed in a hack, your third-party liability, so if anybody sues you because their information, because they suffered loss because of their information getting out through you. You've got $3 million in defense for that. Insuring clause 2 are the actual theft of money type issues, where if they got into your bank account and actually stole $250,000 of the district's money, this is where that coverage would be. Business interruption is clause 3. So that's just what it is, what it's saying. If they shut your computers down and you can't operate the schools, whatever extra expense you've got to relocate, find new computers, get back in business is covered in that section. Where are we at on ransomware? No, it's in 2. Extortion is section D. That's ransomware. So cyber extortion is the legal word for it, and it's covered at the full $3 million. That's where we're seeing the big dollars. But I had one this year that was almost $1 million in extortion, and it's still open. The file's still open, and it's running at about $400,000 in costs other than the extortion part. So those things do add up. They've got to, first of all, figure out where the hacker got in, and then go in and design systems to keep it from happening again. So plus you got to hire people to go negotiate with hackers to pay them their ransom, their Bitcoin, that sort of thing, and arrange to have the Bitcoin, and they're complex. I will say that cyber insurance is more than just insurance. It's a consistent monitoring of your systems to see what exposures you might have or what open holes you might have. This past week, I was sitting at home at 6 o'clock in the evening. I got a call from the cyber carrier saying one of my clients had an open port. There was a patch that came out over the weekend that they hadn't downloaded yet for privacy or security on their system, and they were monitoring it just like they do all their clients. And they noticed that there was a patch. They had not patched it, and they had me call the client that night and get them in there to go install the patch on their system, and they didn't have a problem. But it's that constant oversight and protection for you to keep you from having a claim that is half the cost, I think, or worth half the premium in a cyber policy. So, it's important to have. Especially as a public entity. They're just targets right now. There are large amounts of money, I think, held in public entities, and some of them just simply don't have the controls that they ought to have to stay safe. You have to answer a lot of questions for this to get this coverage and satisfy a lot of IT protocol to get them to even offer the coverage, and you've done it. So, we think it's a good policy and it's a good value at that cost. So, those parts of the renewal, I think, are, in my opinion, are good. I mean, the property is the sore spot with this, but I wish there was more I could do to limit that. I mean, we could take a higher deductible, that sort of thing, but it's not going to be enough savings to justify the cost. It won't save you enough money.
We have the Washington School building as well that's on a separate policy. If that building was gone and it was just on land, do you think that we could bring it back under EMC so that it wouldn't have to be a separate policy?
Well,
the building was gone.
Yeah, so certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, and we still do have it for liability.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the property that we got to
Gotcha.
go elsewhere for. So,
Would be a problem. Okay.
Wouldn't be a problem. Right.
All right, well, we appreciate it.
Any questions from Mr. Wood here?
No.
Well, I look forward to bringing you a bigger dividend check
That would be nice.
mid-year.
That would be nice.
We like
Thanks
checks.
Yes, we do.
Thanks for letting me come.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Thanks, Bob.
need a motion to approve this renewal proposal.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second to approve the proposal as discussed by Mr. Wood there. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Bob.
Sign that,
I
right?
can
Appreciate it.
meet tomorrow for signatures on the law. and then,
Okay.
you'll see.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sounds
All right.
good. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Moving to 9.2, action on the one-to-one iPads for Garfield.
Okay, I'm going to have Mr. Ben come and share. He handed something out prior to the meeting, so it's in little bitty tiny print.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You should have a sheet that looks like this, except for yours isn't as colorful. This is just an amalgamation of 3 different things. At the bottom is kind of what we discussed last board meeting, where the kind of the predicted, costs of running stuff. I cut out the iPad portion. So if you look at the very top, the quote from Apple, who is a approved vendor for the state of Kansas. So we're ordering direct from Apple. Also, when we do that, we get what's enrolled in what's called the device enrollment program. So we boot up the iPad, it goes, hi, you're USD 503. So it's automatically enrolled and all that good stuff. So that is about on par with what I predicted price-wise. And then just because of the model refresh, they did make the screen size bigger. They used to be 9.7 inch, now they're 10.2 inch. So we'll need to purchase newer cases for those, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. Ordering new cases for grade school iPads every once in a while is always a good idea. So we did get suggestions from the schools that they would like black cases because they show the finger marks less and the pencils and that. So, back in the day when we first did it, we had nice, bright, cheery colors. We learned that yellow was bad, and yellow doesn't stay yellow for long. So, we live when we learn. So that's just an additional cost. I don't need action on that. I just wanted to be completely transparent and let you know that that additional cost is coming with these. So
Right.
what I'm asking for is just approval for the purchasing of the iPads as per our policy, because it is over a certain dollar amount. So.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second to approve the one-to-one iPads for Garfield. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.3, thank you, Mr. McGuire.
right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
All right, this is the safe return plan. This was a part of the ESSER 3 requirements from the federal government, was that you have something posted on your website clear back in 20 or 21? 21, that said, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it. And so every 6 months, what we have to do is look at it, change the dates. So now it's time for us to change it to where it says 23-24 school year and to do those updates. And then once it's updated, we will add it to the website. So I recommend that you approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve that plan for safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.4, first reading of the 23-24 student parent handbooks, bus driver handbook, parent student transportation handbooks. Should have all those.
It was just a little bit of light reading. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
It was a lot of paper. I recognize that. But approval for those will be on the July agenda. But if you have questions as you're going along, the handbooks, that was something that was Jeff's project. So if you'll just email him or call him with those handbook questions. That's delegation at its finest, right there, ladies and gentlemen.
And you'll notice the handbook's kind of separated out. We kind of did an all District 1, so each building has their own. There's a lot of still, the information hasn't changed a whole lot from previous year. They're just on their own building. And then hopefully next year, you'll just get a sheet that just shows what's changing, so it'll be less reading for you next year.
Okay, 9.5, first reading of the recommended CASB June policy updates. So you should have those too.
Yep, and there were quite a few of those, so we'll look through those. I'll go through those in the next couple weeks and put in the view things that will impact us, things that maybe we have that currently aren't in policy or that are, and give you those updates. So if you've got policy questions, that's something that you can email or give me a call.
Okay, 9.6, action to set the July organizational meeting.
Okay, the last couple years,
Yeah.
the July meeting has just been held, organizational meeting has just been held at the regularly scheduled July meeting,
Yeah.
which can be done since we don't do
Yeah.
new officers, but that's
Yeah, we don't
totally up
have
to
new
you.
officers and stuff, and so I think we just do that at the beginning of our next meeting. So does anybody have a problem with that? Just to avoid an extra meeting? So, all right, okay. So I need a motion to set that at our next regular meeting, which was what, July 17th?
July 17th. July
Okay.
17th.
Need a motion.
Second?
Moved and seconded to set that July organizational meeting at our, the same evening and time as our regular board meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.7, action on the cooperative agreement with St. Patrick's Catholic School.
Okay, so each year St. Pat's requests a variety, just depending upon, the numbers of kids they have, interest in activities. This year they have requested to participate in middle school football and the boys and girls tennis programs. So the CASA requires annual renewal of that and acceptance by the board. So I would recommend that you approve their participation in those things.
I'll move to approve.
Moved and seconded to approve the cooperative agreement with St. Patrick's School. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries. 9.8, action to authorize transfer of funds to close fiscal year '23.
Okay, so our fiscal year ends June the 30th here, and there are required transfers at the end, just like every year. And so we need an action to authorize that transfer. It's recommended, so recommend that you approve that, so we can wrap up this year.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to authorize those transfer of funds per law.
Correct.
Close fiscal year '23. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.9, action to approve the participation in the Green Bush Energy Group in hedging.
Okay, this is something that we participate in every year, and we are fortunate. I don't know if you remember a few years ago when it was like ISO Watergeddon or whatever. Remember when we missed a whole bunch of school and rolling blackouts and all of those things? Participating in this group has been beneficial for us in regard to costs, so I would recommend that you approve our participation in that group.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved and seconded to participate in the Green Bush Energy Group in the hedging authorization. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.10, action to approve the contract with Wood River Energy for the natural gas.
Right, they are the supplier of the gas and the transportation services for the 23-24, so I'd recommend that you approve that contract with that company.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the Wood River Energy contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.11, action on the memorandum agreement with Green Bush for parents as teachers.
All right, so Parents as Teachers is that early learning home visiting that we do. We have a home educator that goes and visits, and monthly, included in your view are all the different numbers of home visits, the numbers of books, the numbers of screenings that were given, all of those kinds of things. The price did go up a little. It has not in years and years. So it went from $1,000 a slot to $1,100 a slot, for a total of $22,000. So I would recommend that you approve Parents as Teachers.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve that memorandum agreement with Green Bush for parents as teachers for 23-24. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.12, discussion and action on Washington School.
All right, so Washington, a few months ago, the board did vote to have the building abated, and so we got on the schedule for abatement. That is scheduled for July the 10th. Takes a while. There aren't a lot of people that abate things. asbestos and so on, which takes a while. In the process of doing that and getting prepared for that, if you drive by, there are 2 large storage containers. They are moving everything out of Washington. There's also been a lot of roll-off dumpsters. They are making regular trips out to the recycling. They're also making regular trips to the dump. We've just kept a lot of things that, we didn't need. There may be a time we sell some of those things as well. Here's the deal. We're going to abate the building, but depending upon what the board's going to do with the building determines how the abatement has to move forward. If you abate a building for demolition, the requirements are different than if you abate it for future use. And so I think when we got the bids for the first round of abatement, after them touring the building, it was understood that it was going to be demolished. And then when I said something about, well, wait, we may not, that requires different things. So the board needs to decide, what the future use of that building is going to be. We've had the Washington Task Force. So that was a community group that met a couple different times and shared the things that they remembered about the building, that they liked about the building. And there are a lot of emotional attachments to schools in our community. And I remember when my dad was alive, he talked about carrying his books and his desk from the old Washington to the new Washington. That was the first place I taught in '96. It was a good building. There's a lot of good memories there. It's at a point now where we have to decide what we're going to do with it. So I put some information in the view. I sent you additional information today because the state law changed. In the past, the legislature was never involved in if you sold a school building. That was not their business. They didn't get in that business. That has changed. So beginning on July 1st, there is a process. If you sell school-owned building, there is a process called the first right of refusal for the legislature. And so that would have an impact on if we demo Washington and just have a nice green space, no impact. If the district elects to sell the building, then there's no way we can get that sale done before July 1st, which is a Saturday, and it's 8 business days. And so then that would require the additional work of sending it to the legislature for them to have the first opportunity for refusal. So what questions do you have?
So to abate is $115,000.
That is correct.
To abate and keep the building, to sell or donate or use is another $20,000.
That is correct.
So in other words, it'd be a gamble of $20,000 to pay the extra money for the abatement to keep that building. Because personally, I think there's some potential there. I don't know, maybe a daycare center. I don't know.
When we spoke with the rural redevelopment people about the cost, in order for us we would sell them the building for basically $1 and then have to pay them to take it. So, and when I spoke with the city about the land bank, they did not feel like that was a viable option.
Well, hold on. I talked to 2 commissioners, and they said it hasn't been presented to the land bank. It's only been presented to the city manager, and they said they'd like to hear about that.
And so that would be something that the city could look. I can go back and find in.
You're correct. You talked to the city manager.
I
She
did.
told you what she said. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm saying I talked to 2 commissioners, and they said there's 5 people on the land bank, and one of those people said they'd like to have proposal.
Right.
If we do propose that. I'm just saying, personally, I would pay the extra $20,000 and keep the building for any potential use.
Does that have to go through the city manager though?
Right,
first, before it gets presented to the land bank committee?
I don't know what the land bank process is, but I do know.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the city manager
We don't have all the information yet.
because she told me that there are other locations around town that housing could be built without near the cost.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying,
Right.
some of the other members on the land bank said, we'd like to look at it too.
And if we were to basically give it for $1 plus $150,000 to rural development, it would also require some rezoning if they're going to put any kind of housing or those kinds of things, which means it would have to go before the zoning board, which I have all of that application. I don't think that that would be well received in the community, but I could be wrong.
I don't think we can give it to the land bank under this law.
Well, if we're going to give it to anybody now,
We have to
give it to the state first. We have to give them the right of first refusal.
Yeah.
So, which means we fill out everything that was on that paper and give it to them. We have to wait until January or February. When do they come back in
180
session?
days. It's 180 days is what it said.
Well, it's 45 days after they.
But they don't come back in session for,
January
till
7th,
January,
10th, somewhere.
something like that. And then we give them 45 days to then determine. And so then we pay another year's worth of insurance on it, continues to sit vacant and be an eyesore.
So that rural development, I talked to one of the county commissioners yesterday morning, and we don't have enough information as a board to make some of those decisions yet, other than, it's hard to make a decision without all the information.
I don't know what other information you would like.
Who's in charge of the rural development? What is the process that we have to go through? What is the cost to the district?
Okay, so.
Who makes the final decision? How long does it take?
Okay, so right now, with the law changing, the first thing it would have to do is go to the state for
And
the first.
that's the snag in the whole process.
Right. Now, if it's just going to go to rural development, we do know, because if we rezone it first, then we could sell it to rural development for $1. And then they would be willing to split the cost possibly of abatement if we could find grants. If not, best case scenario costs the district $100,000 plus the release fee of almost $12,000 for not having it abated now. And I'm not sure I don't know if the rezoning board would approve it or not. That was just a gamble that we would take.
You also don't know if the person that is going to split those abatement costs.
We don't
with you.
know.
I mean, that's a huge gamble.
Right, you just don't know. There aren't any abatement grants. I've spoken to them at Greenbush and to Laura Moore at the city. There are no abatement grants available for schools. Now, possibly with the rural redevelopment, maybe, but it's a maybe. So we do know how much that would cost us. The other thing we could do that he was willing to do was we could sell it to him for $1. Now, we've got to go through the state thing first, and they have to say no. We could sell it to him for $1, pay $150,000 for a full release of any liability, which is really, what the district had wanted. We'd also then have to pay the release fee for the asbestos abatement, almost $12,000, and then the rural development group would attempt to rezone it and move from there. But until they were able to do that, it would sit empty. People would always know it as Washington School, and I think it would continue to reflect poorly on the district. So, or we can abate it. We know that it'll cost $115,491. We can abate it. We can demolish it, get it all cleared out, make it a nice green space that maybe later we could work with the city on a park or do something with the rec center or have it for future use for the district moving forward. It's an entire city block. And those are hard to come by. When we tried to build that bus barn, just trying to find a spot in town where there was adequate space, we really struggled to do that.
Well, when the school district talked about rezoning to the neighborhood, that turned into pretty vocal discussion.
Right, they did not want that. They were not interested in that at all.
So I personally don't want to get into rezoning myself.
And so if we don't do it, then we do know that it would cost, after we went through the state thing, it would cost at least $161,549.10 for him to take it off our hands, because we'd have to pay him the $150 and then pay the charge for not having it abated, for the release from that contract fee. So my recommendation is that we abate the building with plans to demo it, make it a nice green space for future use for the community. And so we know the abatement would cost $115,491, and the demo cost is at about $225, but it won't impact us now, but 30 years down the road, they might need to build a new school. They might need to have a transportation hub of some sort or a maintenance storage of something. And we would have an entire city block of green space that would be nice in the neighborhood to have. Maybe we could look at having a park or something else added there, but that gives the district the most control.
How much are we paying for insurance?
It's a little over 10,000 a year right now. And there's minimal electric costs, because we do, you know.
What was the recommendation of the committee? Did they come back with a recommendation?
No, there was.
It was very split
Yeah,
decision.
there was a variety of interest there. A lot of community members wanted various things done with it, but no one has a funding source available to do the things that they wanted to do. And so it was just going to be cost prohibitive to do a lot of the things, like make it into a place where people can sell food or, there was a variety of things that were brought up, but they all cost a substantial amount of money. The roof alone is several $100,000.
And it is in great disrepair.
Yeah. And
Well,
so,
we never heard, I just was wondering.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because-
that's
yeah,
basically what happened.
You know.
There wasn't a
never really
consensus.
Report back, so.
Yeah.
What year did we close Washington?
I believe we
1999.
utilize,
What?
hey, just real quick, isn't there a limited amount of stores there currently?
We do currently use it as storage, yes. And so that would be something that we would have to address. However, a tremendous amount of what we have there is not usable. I mean, we need to recycle things, we need to throw things away. We may need to look at one of those storage pods, temporary for right now, which is what we have things right now going into, and then having some kind of a sale. We have enough chairs at Washington. I don't know where all those chairs came from. And then we have parts of chairs, because we kept everything in case we might need something to fix something. I mean, we have a lot of things there, but yes.
Possibility that it came from McKinley.
It's possible.
I know, very possible.
It's possible.
Very possible.
Yep. And teachers have gone through and looked and gotten bookshelves and tables and things that they can use. There's, quite a bit of that as well. A lot of times people will say, we're going to go shop at Washington. And they go and look to see what tables or chairs they might have. But this it is a big decision. It is, but I think it's an important decision.
If we don't do anything now, it's going to cost us $12,000 to not do the abatement?
Cost us $12,000 to not do the abatement. I just feel like
Are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we do the abatement with the intent to demolish the building.
Second.
Okay, motion is to proceed with the abatement with the intent to demolish the building. And so what was the cost for that one again?
So the abatement would cost $115,491, which has already been approved at a previous meeting. The demo cost would be $225,744.
Okay, so was your motion to demolish it or just do the abatement with the intent to demolish it?
Well, my motion was with the intent to demolish, but if we're ready to move forward with the whole thing, I have no, but make a motion to abate and demolish.
So what's that total cost then?
So the total cost, I'm afraid to do the math in my head. It's been a 12-hour day. Let me look real quick on my phone for my little calculator. So we would have $115,491 plus the $225,744, $341,235. And we'd
But you
have a
got the rural
nice,
development idea, well, that would be out the window. So you can't, wasn't that an option? Didn't you say that was an option?
the rural development.
To do the abatement and the extra $20,000 and then possibly sell it to them after it goes through the state?
After, that would be yes,
So that knocks that off the table.
absolutely. What this does is it gives a city block of nice, green, cleaned up space for future board use.
Yeah, you do this, you don't do the,
Right, it's one or the
When
other.
we need to get a demolition,
What, I couldn't hear what you said. When would we submit that?
When would we need to demolish it, I think?
Will we have to bid out the demolition?
No. Those were done earlier when they did the abatement.
What did you just
I'm
say?
sorry, what was his question?
Did you ask if we would have to separate the
You have to
bids?
bid the demolition.
And it's already been bid, right?
Yes, it's already been bid. Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, he's cutting in and out. Yeah.
Okay, so the motion again is to proceed with action on the abatement with the intent to demolish and then also to demolish. So abate and demolish. That's the motion. Okay, all right. So now we know the motion.
Let's do a roll call, please.
Sure, yeah, that's no problem. We don't have a second yet.
Yes.
Oh, I
Julie
seconded it.
Oh.
I want to
That's
demolish.
what I thought.
Second.
You second that motion there?
I do.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to proceed with the abatement with the intent to demolish and then go ahead and proceed with the demolish at the cost stated previously. Okay. So we're going to do a roll call vote, and so we can start at that. We can actually start with Mr. Ray, since he's away. Did you hear the motion, Mr. Ray? Okay. And-
Yes.
And so what's your vote?
Yay.
Okay.
Yes, yay.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Castle?
Yes.
Yes.
I vote yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, so motion passes 5-2. Moving on to 9.13. Action to increase mill levy by 1 mill for Parsons Recreation Commission.
All right, you will notice that their resolution is on page 48. We are their tax levying agency, but we don't get to determine how many mills they ask for. That's something that, so they have requested an additional 1, and, which would bring their total to 7.5.
Okay, we need a motion on this mill levy increase for the rec center, or rec commission.
I so move.
Second?
Moved and second to approve that increase in mill levy by 1 mill for the Recreation Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.14, action on adult meal prices.
Okay, so adult meal prices, every year, this is something that we are required to do. It's just recommended that the adult meal prices remain the same as they were for the 22-23 school year, $2.75 for breakfast and $4.75 for lunch.
Does that pretty well cover the cost?
It does. Yeah, the reimbursement rate is, I think it's about $4.10, $4.20.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those adult meal prices for 23-24. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.15, action to approve current meal charge policy.
All right, so this is something that we do every year. It's a little bit different this year because we are eligible for the community eligibility program, and so our students will eat free this year. The change, but we still are required to put this out there anyway, just so that they know. So the only change was we did remove the availability of meals on remote learning days due to severe weather. We don't have remote learning days anyway, but last year that wasn't removed from the policy, so that was the only removal. You'll notice that on page 51. So I would recommend that you approve that policy EE with that one correction.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the meal charge policy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.16, action to approve the food service written standard of conduct.
All right, and so this just tells everyone who works in food service or food service or on the board how they're going to behave when it comes to food service recommendations. So it's just to be reviewed every June and to approve. So I'd recommend that you approve that.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve that food service written standard of conduct. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 9.17, action to approve procurement plan for the child nutrition program.
Okay, and so that's required every year as well. That just tells you here who's we're going to order for or from. Here are the responsibilities of each of those individuals, the director, the 2 kitchen managers, the accounts payable business manager, and myself. Talks about the different categories, the methods that we're going to make sure that we follow all the laws. Talks about informal purchases, big purchases. So in case we accidentally run out of buns, this does say that, okay, we've got a grocery store here in town and Walmart, and we can use that. But all of those things have to be noted in the plan, so that plan is there. Because it's got to conform to that free and open competition and make sure all local and state taxes, or state laws and federal laws, we abide by all of those. So that's what this plan does, so I would recommend that you approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the procurement plan for child nutrition program. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. We're down to 9:18, the executive session. How much time would you like this evening?
Well, we're going to talk about negotiations. We have Ben here to talk about cameras and safety. And then I have a few staff things. I'd say 15.
Any board members have anything for executive session? You do? Okay. Anybody else?
Can we add a bathroom break onto that too?
Yeah, we can do that
Okay,
before we
thanks.
start.
Thanks.
Anybody else have anything other than Ms. Thompson? Okay. So I think we'll probably do 20 minutes then, so need a motion to enter executive session then. 20 minutes.
With a 5-minute break?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Move that we go into executive session for 20 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Okay, there's moved and seconded to go in executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to non-elected personnel exception or COMA, exception for employer-employer negotiations, the exception for school security matters to ensure the security of school and buildings and systems. And that's at 7:06, so we will take a 5-minute bathroom recess till 7:11, and then we'll be in executive session for 20 minutes and be back into this room at 7:31 in open session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we'll be back in open session 7:31.
And before you all leave.
Yep, we've got security.
Oh, we haven't even done that.
That's right.
Sorry,
That's right.
forgot that. That'll be,
Yep.
I'd say, yeah, 10, 15.
Okay, so we're going to need to
Good
extend
catch,
the
David.
executive session here. So we're back in open session. And we're going to need to extend executive session again. We'll need to go for another 15 minutes. So need a motion in that regard.
I move we enter executive session at 7:33 for 15 minutes.
Okay. Second. So moved and seconded, enter executive session at 7:33 for the reasons stated in the agenda and also previously stated for 15 minutes. Come back here 7:48 in open session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're in executive session
Ben
again.
to come.
In open session now, moving on to 9.19, action on personnel.
Okay, so we have these recommendations for employment. Dara Barmiller, high school head volleyball coach, effective the 23 season. Jenny Bellings, middle school math aide, effective the 23-24 year. Audra Geblin, sixth grade science teacher, effective the 23-24 year. Carly Johnson, full-time substitute teacher, effective the 23-24 year. Bailey Monty, high school assistant volleyball coach, effective 23 season. Joey Simmons, full-time substitute teacher, effective the 23-24 school year. Daisy Smith, kindergarten aide, effective the 23-24 school year. Christy Stevens, Lincoln Library aide, effective the 23-24 school year. Paxton Swanson, maintenance tech, effective May the 30th, 23. Pierce Thomas, full-time substitute teacher, effective the 23-24 school year. And Gage Freeze, high school social studies teacher, effective the 23-24 school year. I recommend that you approve those folks for employment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those mentioned for employment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
All right, we had some resignations from employment. Keontae Johnson, high school evening custodian, effective May 19th, 23. Nancy Kroll, full-time substitute teacher, effective June 8th, 23. Caleb Reed, high school social studies teacher, effective May 31st, 23. Caleb Reed, high school head soccer coach, effective May 31st, 23. And Drew Fuentes, high school ISS aide, effective June the 14th. I recommend that you approve those folks for resignation from
So
employment.
moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve those resignations from employment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. No further business. We are adjourned this evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your attendance.
We way off.